A reading from the Holy Bible, the New American Bible, Exodus chapter 12, starting with verse 19. For 7 days, no leaven may be found in your houses. Anyone, be he a resident alien or a native, who eats leavened food shall be cut off from the community of Israel. Nothing leavened may you eat. Wherever you dwell, you may eat only unleavened bread. Promulgation of the Passover. Moshe called all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go and procure lambs for your families and slaughter them as Passover victims. Then take a bunch of hyssop and dipping it in the blood that is in the basin, sprinkle the lintel and the 2 doorposts with this blood. But none of you shall go outdoors until morning, for the Lord will go by striking down the Egyptians. Seeing the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over that door and not let the destroyer come into your houses to strike you down. You shall observe this as a perpetual ordinance for yourselves and your descendants. Thus you may also observe this rite when you have entered the land which the Lord will give you, as he promised. When your children ask you, What does this rite of yours mean? You shall reply, This is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. When he struck down the Egyptians, he spared our houses. Then the people bowed down in worship, and the Israelites went and did as the Lord had commanded Moshe and Aaron. Death of the firstborn. At midnight, the Lord slew every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh on the throne to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, as well as all the firstborn of the animals. Pharaoh arose in the night, he and all his servants, and in the night, and all the Egyptians. Pharaoh rose in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians. And there was loud wailing throughout Egypt, for there was not a house without its dead. Permission to depart. During the night, Pharaoh summoned Moshe and Aaron and said, Leave my people at once, you and the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you said. Take your flocks, too, and your herds as you demanded, and be gone, and you will be doing me a favor. The Egyptians likewise urged the people on to hasten their departure from the land. They thought that otherwise they would all die. The people therefore took their dough before it was leavened in their kneading bowls, wrapped in their cloaks on their shoulders. The Israelites did as Moshe had commanded. They asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and for clothing. The Lord indeed had made the Egyptians so well disposed toward the people that they let them have whatever they asked for. Thus did they despoil the Egyptians. The Exodus from Egypt and the journey to Sinai. Departure from Egypt. The Israelites set out from Ramesses for Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, not counting the children. A crowd of mixed ancestry also went with them. Besides their livestock, very numerous flocks and herds. Since the dough they had brought out of Egypt was not leavened, they baked it into unleavened loaves. They had been rushed out of Egypt and had no opportunity even to prepare food for the journey. The time the Israelites had stayed in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, all the hosts of the Lord left the land of Egypt on this very date. This was a night of vigil for the Lord, as he led them out of the land of Egypt. So on this same night all the Israelites must keep a vigil for the Lord throughout their generations. Passover regulations. The Lord said to Moshe and Aaron, "These are the regulations for the Passover. No foreigner may partake of it. However, any slave who has been brought for money may partake of it, provided you have first circumcised him. But no transient alien or hired servant may partake of it. It must be eaten in one and the same house. You may not take any of its flesh outside the house. You shall not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must keep this feast. If any aliens living among you wish to celebrate the Passover of the Lord, all the males among them must first be circumcised, and then they may join in its observance just like the natives. But no man who is uncircumcised may partake of it. The law shall be the same for the resident alien as for the native." All the Israelites did just as the Lord had commanded Moshe and Aaron. On that same day the Lord brought the Israelites out of Egypt, company by company.